Today we're going to check out a rarity, the Korg 800dV Maxi-Korg. We're going to get into its features, its top panel, and we're going to hear it in action. Stick around, let's check it out. Hi, I'm Roland SH. This is Alamo Music. AlamoMusic.com is the website. Be sure you hop on that website and check out our inventory. We got a lot of cool things on that website. Also hop on YouTube and subscribe to our channel, Alamo Music Sound Lab. We've got a lot of great videos in the future. Today we'll be speaking about this massively cool, awesome Korg synthesizer. Check it out. The Korg 800dV, also known as the Maxi-Korg. Came out, if I remember correctly, about 1975-76, and of course it was one of Korg's first synthesizers. What exactly is it? It looks kind of cheesy, you know, it looks a little bit different than your typical synthesizer. Well, essentially what it is it's two mini Korgs in one unit. If you take a look at the top panel here, all of this strip would essentially be one mini Korg, and the one right below it's the secondary mini Korg. So essentially you get two in one box. You do get a pretty extended key range, and you do have a lot of different sliders and knobs and switches that are not typical on your usual synthesizer. It does work and operate a little differently. I will say that some of the feature set on this took me aback when I first sat down and played one of these. I was a little confused as to how to operate efficiently. It does kind of like throw you for a curve here and there, but once you sit down with it and get used to the way it flows, it's actually a pretty cool synthesizer and very easy to coax a lot of different types of tones. It could definitely cover the bass territory very well. Definitely can cover the lead territory very well. As a matter of fact, if you recall the electronic artist Kitaro, he was a really big fan of the mini Korg, and so once I play a couple of these little lead lines later on, I think you'll get to hear some of those sounds again. But not only does it bass and leads, it also can coax a lot of weird sonic textures, stuff that you typically wouldn't be able to get on other synthesizers, mostly due to the fact that the filter section is very different. You have essentially what is considered a low-pass filter and a high-pass filter in one shot. So you can basically move and manipulate these sliders back and forth, operating a low pass and a high pass at the same time. Pretty unique, pretty awesome, and again, not something you would typically find on another synthesizer. On your typical other synthesizer, you might find a high pass filter or a low pass filter, but you really couldn't engage them both at the same time, whereas this one definitely does so. You also have some augments to the filter. You've got this bright switch and the expand switch, which are kind of meant to, I guess, magnify the filter setting. You also have your attack section, and what they call singing and percussion is like an envelope. So, for example, if I'm on percussion, it's going to be a very short decay. Singing would be a long type of sustain decay. Very different. Again, the terminology and the way it operates is not like your usual Moog or ARP synthesizer. But once you sit down and get used to it, it kind of goes pretty well. You do have what's called hold or sustain, and again, it's exactly that, an addition to the envelope section, where you can sustain or hold those particular notes. And here we have the VCO section. The VCO is comprised of a very wide octave range, from 64 all the way up to 2 rather. So that's a pretty broad range that you typically wouldn't find on a synthesizer. You have your choice of waveform selectors from pulse to saw to sine. You also have some cool things like you've got chorus and a pink noise and a ring modulator. So again, things you typically wouldn't find all in all in a synthesizer are on this Maxi-Korg. Very cool and very fun to play with this section right here alone. Over here we have what's to be considered the LFO section, but it's not really kind of set up in those words. You've got vibrato, bender, and portamento. Vibrato would be that LFO thing, and you do have a bender which can have the notes kind of ramp up or ramp down depending on which position you have them set at. Very cool feature, and again, this was a really big heavy hitter thing for Kitaro and his lead sounds. On this side, we've got the speed and the depth for that LFO. You've got the delay for the LFO, And you've got that bend which coincides with the bender section. The bend will either be very slow or very fast, so it kind of depends on where you set it at to have a slow ramp or a very fast ramp. Here's the slider to adjust the portamento section. And we have our volume for each MIDI Korg, for each oscillator section rather, right over here on this side. Over here we have what's called a repeat section. And the repeat section is kind of like if you had a pulse LFO and you basically set it up for whatever type of width and the speed of that. And I'll demonstrate that later on down the line. Finally, you've got your key transpose section. Not really something I would utilize real time, but it might be kind of cool, for example, to have one engine in A and another engine in D, or et cetera, et cetera. The back panel is really, really simple. You've got a couple of accessory outputs to go to pedals to supply voltage control to the filter, and you've got your outputs. And there's really not much else beyond that. The looks of it are a little hokey. I think this was, Korg's attempt at getting into a very pro-end synthesizer, but they kind of left it a little lacking on the cosmetics. The whole mobile home siding wood thing to me just doesn't look really cool, but I've seen some people mod these online with different panels to make it look a little bit more stout and less homey, so to speak. Anyway, all in all, it's a very cool synthesizer with some very distinctive, very unique features on the panel. I think it's going to be a joy to play it for you and to show you what it really can be capable of. Enough talk about the synthesizer. Let's start tweaking some sliders, knobs, and filters. Let's go. I really hope you enjoyed checking out this Korg 800dV Maxi-Korg synthesizer. I enjoyed playing it for you and I enjoyed talking about it. It's really definitely a very cool synthesizer, a classic little piece of Korg history right here. Thanks for checking it out.